Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 169 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So when we want to actually bring change to our lives, to change our lives for the better, we often struggle with knowing how exactly should we be spending our time and what decisions should we be making about what we want to do next with our careers, our work, and our personal lives. We know we might have to put in a level of effort, but the question becomes whether or not it will actually be worth it. What if it doesn't work out when you pour all this time and energy into something and you feel like you've wasted your time? So today's podcast on what am I really good at will help you understand how to align your time, how to align your energy with those things that will ultimately bring you the most meaning and the most results. So let's talk about what it takes to go from ordinary to extraordinary. I know that many of you may be in either a job situation where you know things are about to change or things are changing for you, or maybe you're looking for the next opportunity. And I think that no matter where you are, it's really smart to constantly have the ability to be creating options for yourself. And there's a big difference in terms of being really satisfied with your life and where you're going and what you're working on when you know what you're pretty good at versus what you're really good at. And this is the question that keeps us out of the ordinary and moves us into the extraordinary. I want you to consider how much of your time do you spend doing things that you're pretty good at? And most people, they spend most of their times doing things that they're pretty good at, and they've achieved pretty good results. But consider what might happen when you need to or want to move on. And if you're like many of the people that I work with, you want to grow, you want to find your edge, your magic edge, the thing that you're really good at, and you want to move into what you are really good at. And you can call them your strengths, you can call them your talents, you can call them your gifts. And these are the things that you don't always know that you're good at until later in life. Maybe they're your unconscious competencies, your superpowers. You have to consciously carve out time and thought to engage yourself in these things. And often we don't have that mind space to be curious about what does extraordinary look like? And what would an extraordinary life look like for me when we're just trying to figure out what to cook for dinner, how to make ends meet, how to save for the next big project or thing, and how to answer all the emails and clear your inbox. So I want to be compassionate and understanding about the specificity of how we find time and make time to do these things. But this is definitely not something that falls upon you. You have to go after it. So I'm going to encourage you to think really differently about how you do everything in your life. So I want you to consider this hypothesis, which is that your strength makes you more efficient and productive. It's actually not a hypothesis because research by Gallup has already shown this, that you are more effective and more productive when you use your strengths. And I want you to imagine that everything in your life could be more efficient, could be more effective, that you suddenly found more time in your day to day and that you're more fulfilled with what you were doing in your day to day. This happens when you actually use and know what your innate strengths and talents are. It makes your decision making easier if you know where to guide your decision making and how you're biased and what you naturally do. When you know who you are, when you know what you're good at, can you imagine how easy it would be to figure out what you want to do next in your life? It is everything. So when you consider, for example, a lot of the people who seem like they're on the single-minded path, they're just doing their thing, it's often because they figured out that thing for themselves. They know who they are, what they're good at, and what they're not good at, and what to focus their energy on. And they keep moving forward, even though they might be doing things that seem challenging. And it makes them seem like they're fearless, but in truth, they realize that it's the only option they have towards living their version of their most fulfilled life. I want you to imagine if you were a fish and you didn't know you were a fish and you were just swimming, and someone would say, "Well, how could you do that swimming so hard?" But then you would tell them, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is just how I move." So there are things you do in the way that you do them that are as if you didn't even know that you were a certain species or that you came with a certain set of habits and tendencies in the way that you show up. And there are natural fits for what you can do with it. And there are ways that you create fits for these type of skill sets in your life as well. And the fallacy, however, is being too busy to figure this out. What most people do is they make the mistake of thinking, I'm just going to figure it out as I go along in life. And I promise you this, they think that they will somehow just magically have this information come to them. Like maybe someone will just tell them. Maybe their manager will identify this for them at work, or maybe someone will tell you. And the funny thing is, sometimes people will, but because you aren't aware and you're not in the right mind space to hear it, listen for it, to try to figure out how the puzzle pieces fit in with the story of your life, you don't even accept it. I remember so many times now, in hindsight, when people were telling me, have I considered something that was about like figuring out the way that people were thinking? And why they were doing the things that they were doing, or coaching work, or even a kind of work that was different than what I was doing, even the healing work or the leading retreats. I just remember not thinking that this was a real thing, not even entertaining it because I was too focused on my current work and my current life. So they will, and you will hear this all day long, and you will just not accept it. You might even go to graduate school. You might get another certification. You might just start doing another thing, project, take on another kind of avenue to just do things that are going to add more stuff to your life. And you're trying to create more options to figure this out. But those things aren't what create the knowing of what you're good at. What people don't realize is that knowing yourself and what you're good at and your strengths are is all that is actually a decision. It is a commitment. It is something that you have to keep going back to because you realize you want to get even better at it. Most of us try, we do a little bit, and then we just move on to the next thing. We try, we do a little bit, and then we move on to the next thing. And it's great to try things out and to figure out what you like and what you don't like. But there comes a time and a place where you want to make a stake in the ground. You want to be able to say, this is what I want to focus my time and energy on. This is what I want to be known for. And if you're interested in this podcast now, it's likely now for you. And you don't realize that if you actually stuck probably with one of those things just a little bit longer, or maybe actually did the thought work behind it to figure out why it isn't this thing or what it actually is, you could figure it out and actually get better at it. And if you actually figure this out first and then you get a certification, then you go to grad school, then you do the things that will make your time well spent. Yet you let the business of life, you let the business of work stop you. And one of the biggest thought errors that I see is that people think they'll figure things out when they're less busy. And they don't realize that they've been and have been busy for decades. And obviously, there's relative times of busyness. I'm not saying every moment is the moment that you need to do this and it must be like right now. But I want you to catch yourself if there's a pattern of pushing something off to a certain point and then never actually doing it. And it's not to blame you or criticize or judge you. It's just to show that many of these things will just keep getting moved off and off until we're decades down the line, which many of you feel like maybe I am decades down the line and we still haven't figured it out. So you want to look around and you want to consider that the people who seem to have figured out that they will likely be busy for the rest of their life are the ones that seem to make their life work for them. And what we truly need to do is actually just accept that we're busy. We accept that when we're busy and we can figure out who we are and how to use our strengths to work for us, then we actually can use it in our day-to-day experience. We can use it in our way of living now. And this is why busy is the best time to make a change and ask for help because you can immediately save time. You can immediately know what you want to do differently. You immediately know how you want to get there. And you're going to save so much time and energy. But most people do the opposite. They just keep on with the status quo when they're busy and they only change because changes are happening in the world around them. Maybe something changes in the organization, the market changes. Maybe you have a baby and you use that as a change. You wait and try to use some outside circumstance and switch to force the change that truly you need to make. And this is one of the number one signs that I see is that people wait for something outside of them to fix the situation for them. I'm not going to have to worry about that once this happens. Once I just switch jobs, I won't have to worry about this. Once I do X, Y, and Z, I won't have to worry about this. But that's not true, right? What we must do instead is do what's completely different when we're busy. We have to pause, we have to stop, we have to create the time and space, get off that hamster wheel and realize that I need to create time. It doesn't get created for me. And I need the ability to ask that question. How do I create time and space to actually consider my next steps and how do I actually understand who I am even better? And 1 hour here is going to save you months, quarters, years. It's the same as when I have a coaching session that leads you forward by years. And so, this unhelpful thinking that occurs is that many of you think, well, so much time has passed already. I'm too late to the party. You think that if you haven't figured it out, that you might as well not try. And you think that others are just so much further along ahead that it's not even worth it. And this isn't true. You have decades. If you just got over the fact of you might look like a beginner, you might look like you're trying something different, you might look weird to someone else, you might be seen trying instead of just effortlessly being good at things, you're going to actually be rewarded because you have decades ahead of you to live a life where you actually feel unchained, free, aligned between how you spend your time, what you actually think is interesting, so that you feel like, I can't believe this is my life. And you actually truly feel that way. You truly feel, I can't believe I get paid to do this work. I truly believe that the work I do is of high service. I truly believe that even on my not so good days, it's still better than most people's results. And that's pretty powerful because oftentimes we just want to know that the time and the effort that we're putting forth actually makes a difference in our lives. And this is why when you're really good at something, your level of effort expended actually can be a little bit lower because your natural tendency is already developing a sense of acuity or quality that's just so much higher because you've trained so many more hours, you've done so many more reps thinking and working this way. And the crazy thing is, you guys think you haven't spent it and that if you haven't figured it out, you don't know what it is. You've been doing it already. You just don't know what to call it. You don't know how to say it. And this is why I coach and this is where I come in. It's so obvious to me when I look through someone's resume and I talk to them, when I actually work with them, when we do certain assessments, it is obvious how it all comes together. And sometimes that outside perspective is just exactly what creates the clarity for you. It's hard to see the forest for the trees sometimes because you're just so in your day to day experience. And so when you have that ability to know that for yourself, you start to become really confident. That's one of the biggest results that my clients achieve, which is confidence that they can do pretty much anything and that life now becomes more of a choice. And they create this feeling of having options without having to go around and do a bunch of random things and feel like they're haphazardly just expending effort, randomly doing things. Instead, they know, oh my goodness, if I want to do this because this is what I'm really good at, like I might be scared. I might be like, I can't believe this is me and I can't believe I'm going for this. I can't believe I'm going to try. But this becomes so clear, and their focus then becomes way more lasered in. And that's why you can see you save so much time and energy and get so much more effectiveness. When you're aware that you're exercising your strength, when you're aware that this is an innate gift for you, you have so many more ways to measure success because you're thinking of it as a craft instead of just fixating on the end results and just needing it to work as that specific outcome. You're going to find yourself unhappy for longer than necessary. When I think about, for example, the way that I work, I do corporate work and I do coaching work. And when I apply my innate strengths and gifts towards it, it's this very creative process where I start to see, wow, I don't always need a ton of time, but I do need clarity because clear thinking and simplicity will always win. And it doesn't come from 25 hours of staring at the same thing. It comes from thinking at a different level and knowing that what I bring to the table is a certain level of strategic thinking and a certain level of maximizing a situation and quickly seeing the best way forward that's easy, doable, and very simple. And that has then become the way I think about a lot of things, which is why failure becomes less heavy. I'm able to pick myself up if I see that things didn't work out exactly the way I thought. I find that there's simple tweaks that I can make to create the outcome that I'm looking for so that it's not resting on just this one end result, one way of something happening that creates success or failure. So when you actually can create your life and you create your work based on who you are and what you bring to the table and what you're really good at, it becomes this very different game that you're playing. I will guarantee that there's no one out there exactly like you. And you can sell yourself like nobody's business. You truly own that. You start to think about yourself and the work you do and the way you do it in the world and the way you show up. And I'm not talking just about when I say work, work is just how we spend time, but it's the way that we show up, not just for our careers and the people that we work with in our working lives, but with our families, with our friends, with our communities. It's the same person that you're bringing everywhere. You fine tune this craft of yours, which is the way that you show up, the way you live out who you are, your sense of purpose, and you get more comfortable with the discomfort that it actually brings up for you and other people because you do things differently. This is like very interesting because I started noticing that you have to be different in order to use your innate strengths, gifts, and talents well. You have to allow yourself to be different. And you have to be more visible in that difference. You have to speak up. You have to share your point of view. You have to share your way of thinking. And you notice that the nuances from this only come when you practice something at an expert level. One of the biggest realizations that I had coming from a culture of an Asian American growing up in the United States, and this could be the case of many minorities or people who feel like they might not be as safe in a society or culture. And so when you have that conditioning of needing to be safe, you actually play down things that make you stand out. You just try to be really good but not stand out in any kind of way that makes you look different. You want to be like everyone else, just a tiny bit better at things, but you don't want to be better in a different way. And so, what actually found was really interesting is that strengths often seem alarming sometimes. Like, how could I really own that? If you're not used to trying to be more visible, if you're not used to just speaking up and saying what you need to say without any fear of what it means. And I think that it does come with a certain level of maturity, it does come with a level of experience. And over time, you start to realize that in life, you do need to speak up for what you want and you learn how to get better at it. Yet there's still something out there that might be that last bit of visibility, that last bit of standing out that actually will make a huge difference in your life if you truly owned it. And when I considered one of the things that I'm really good at, which is the combination of turning ideas into action and really maximizing things in life for myself and others, is that one of those nuances that have been uncovered is that it's actually uncomfortable for people. I used to think that something has gone wrong if people don't actually feel like doing something immediately. I often have these ideas with my family, and it brings up things like people are like, oh, it seems like a lot, or I don't know if we want to get up that early, or how do we want to drive that far? All of those things. And to me, it's simple, it's easy, let's just go and do it. And I realized that it's not like something has gone wrong if people don't feel like doing something immediately. This is the edge. The whole purpose is that other people don't think this way and you do. I think like that. If they would have naturally done this themselves, this wouldn't be this unique talent and strength and way of thinking that I bring to a situation. And what you do really well will be your unique thumbprint in any situation. My family knows very clearly who I am and what I bring to the table, more so and more so because I know this for myself. So oftentimes they'll look at me like, okay, mom, time for the ideas. You're the one. You're going to come up with the thing that helps put this all together and makes it work, or you're going to figure out that like little thing that we need to be like the theme for the birthday party or the plan that we should have for the trip or where we should go and what we should do. And in the beginning, I remember thinking, well, it's not like I just know, but I realized that I can rely on my strength. I can rely on my talents. Even if they're not there immediately, I know that I have the capability to figure that out. So eventually I'm like, okay, got this. Let me think. And then I'm like, in the process, I work things out, I start to ideate, and then all of a sudden I feel it. It's like this feeling in my body of a full, like, okay. here it is. However, doesn't mean that everyone's like, hooray and yay, and sounds amazing. Sometimes I have the idea and the inclination and the thing, and it's before other people are willing and ready for it. And I know that you're going to have the same experience when you bring up your talents and gifts and things. If you do something a certain way, you're going to rub people the wrong way. And it's not always bad, but just know how to do it more gracefully. Because one of the things that you have to realize is that the way you have of doing things is actually going to need a certain level of skill and a certain level of talking about it, thinking about it, that makes it easier for other people to actually understand you. And it's why it's so important for you to lean into the confidence of knowing, okay, right, people might not get it, but this is my thumbprint. This is what I bring into a situation. This is how I change the energy of the room. It's how people know that I'm there. And this is why in my coaching, we do the work where we find out what your edge is, what talents you bring to the room. We go through the process of understanding what you really care about and what you genuinely do better and more easily than others. And we find the ways you have of doing things that you can truly own to be the way you do it so that you're way more fulfilled. So you can find a lot more ease in your health because you're doing it in ways that are natural for you. So you can better your relationships with other people in the ways that work for you and what makes sense to you. And this is your edge. This is your set of strengths that will be the easiest and most simplest way for you to often make money as well. I think this applies so much to our careers and our work lives and the way that we bring money and wealth into our lives. And yet it can still be what makes other people uncomfortable because you're thinking and you're going to do things differently. I was actually considering several coaching sessions I've had. My clients literally said the words that what we're talking about is blowing their minds or breaking their brains. And this might sound a bit strange, but to me, it's a sign that we're doing things that are going to create the kind of change that they're seeking. You didn't come to coaching, and they didn't come to coaching just to do things the way that they've always done them. They actually come and you actually come because you want to see your life in a new, expanded way. You want to say, okay, you're saying this is possible. Let's see how possible this is. You want to see ease where you might have seen difficulty, and you want to see possibilities where you thought that this was the end of the road. And often you might even reject the idea of a different way of seeing the world. So know that even when you know your strengths, you're utilizing your strengths, it doesn't mean that they won't be rejected by someone else still. Just like I was saying before, it doesn't mean you don't need to be skillful. When you know your strengths, you have to actually cultivate them. I often tell people that you could be the best piano player in the world, but if you don't play the piano and get better at the piano, no one would ever know. So you still need to work at it as if it was a skill. You need to be really selective, actually, about where you use it, the energy that you put towards it, and the time that you spend using it, because it's not needed everywhere. Often we have a way of doing or thinking things, and we do it everywhere we go when the situations don't require it and it's not needed. And this is in and of itself is a huge time saver when you realize, oh, I don't need to be super competitive with everyone. I don't need to be able to find problems everywhere I go. I don't need to maximize every single minute situation. These things then take us out of that spin that our overthinking creates and that our habitual ways of using our strengths create. And it actually makes us way more effective and saves us so much time. And so the same thing goes for you. When you start to accept that what you're really good at is both a strength and also something that will pose some challenges sometimes, you're going to start to have a much more balanced view of what it looks like to bring your most authentic self to the table, to be this uniquely interesting, different, and weird person that does things in different ways, but actually that works for you and that's actually going to help you help other people and help you get the success that you're looking for. And you're going to see it as this gift. You're going to use it to do what you most naturally would do and with a better quality of results as well. It's like the difference between writing with your dominant hand and then writing with your non-dominant hand. Can you imagine level of quality? Imagine the level of speed that occurs. This is exactly the same. You save so much time, you save so much energy when you know what you're really good at. And it's the difference between having to prove yourself and feel like you have to prove yourself to everyone you meet because you're not operating with your strengths. You're just trying to be a copycat of someone else's strength. And you can actually feel like that internal knowing instead of like, I don't need everyone's approval. I'm fine. I'm happy as I am. So that's why it actually takes another level of awareness to have even more success in life than you do today. You are taking yourself, everywhere you go. And while you can change the world around you by changing your job, the location, your relationships, you're going to find that it's going to create a shift, but at some point you will stop seeing growth and the honeymoon phase will go away if you haven't figured out how to actually leverage that one constant denominator in your life, which is going to be you. And I'm so confident that this level of awareness of what you're really good at is going to be that unlock that you've been waiting for. And it will bring you so much more direction into your life. And we're only scratching the surface here of what's possible in terms of clarity. I wish I could get to every single person and sit down with every single person and work through these things with every single person because often I find that it is fairly quick and easy for me to see this and the results that people get when they're able to unlock that for themselves and see that and feel that and know it is massive. And it kills so much of the self-doubt and the noise that plagues people for their entire lives. And it creates such a level of clarity that it's easier for you to figure out what you're looking for next. And many of you are looking for work, your next job, your next relationship, the next evolution of your life, your health, and where you want to be. And I want you to imagine that you're so certain of what you're good at, that you're willing to invest the time, you're willing to invest the energy into it without anyone else asking you to do it. You see your entire life through this lens of you operating as you at your highest and most authentic, deepest levels. And it's not just one work situation, it's not just one relationship where you start to use this. Your whole world view changes. And it becomes so obvious to you that this is your thing that it's so much easier to explain it to other people. You're going to be able to explain why this makes sense, why it works. You're going to know why you can help them and how you're the best fit. And I believe every person has these innate talents and gifts within themselves. And I say this because it's different than skill levels. Skill levels is different and it varies, but you have the seeds. Everyone has the seeds within them. And once they have the seeds and they know where the seeds are, they can start to water them and they can actually go to that place in their garden, right? The plot of land that where this exists and do more with it. And we need more people to come forward and not just people who are well-rounded. We need people who are spiky people, people who are best in class and can be relied on to bring what you bring to the table. It is your calling card. We're waiting for you to show up today. So you can sign up for a consultation if you are so determined and interested and curious and want to know what is your thing. Sign up for a consultation at www.mayemson.com/contact and find out how coaching can help you figure out what you're really good at. So you can close the gap between where you are and what's next for you and start to water the seeds, refine your craft, and figure out the game of life and how to play it more easily for you. And coaching is going to help you make all of these decisions from a place of confidence. That is www.mayemson.com/contact. And if you're in the midst of a season, you want to see what it looks like to break your own mind and perspective, I've also created a free workshop for you. If you haven't watched it yet, go ahead and do it now. The link is in the show notes. We're heading into the summer, and it is one of the best times to shift your perspective, break free of old beliefs and all of those identities of the past. So the replay of the workshop is live now. It's called the Summer of Magic. Even if you're super busy, my goal is to help you have the most magical season right now where you get to be re-inspired. You can sign up at the link in the show notes. You can tell everyone, you can share it because I'm going to share all the practical and spiritual strategies that have helped me maintain a full life of purpose while also being an entrepreneur, a corporate trainer, a wife, and a mom. So if you are ready for a change, if you're looking to get the next step under your belt and moving forward in that direction, I'd love to support you. So again, you can reach it at www.mayemson.com/contact, and we can help you understand how to move forward with clarity. Love you, my friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.